Welcome, everybody. We were just experimenting with some computer options here, and we are live with you now. So I'm excited that you're joining us because we have a wonderful guest who I just am so thrilled that she was able to carve out some time to be with us today. I'm Charmaine Tanner. If you haven't met me before, I'm a parent, a retired teacher, author of a #1 best-selling Amazon book, an advocate, and a public speaker. And I am passionate about helping more parents become effective advocates so your children are safe, happy, and learning every day at school. And I first met Kiki when I was living in Colorado, and she was working for the Colorado Department of Education and a project all around positive behavior supports. But Kiki has also been a special education teacher, a director, and I don't know, maybe we can say a director in a past life, right, Kiki? But there's several things I love about Kiki, and one of them is before she ever talks to parents or teachers and does any consulting around how we can figure out what the child is communicating to us, she always wants to know, what are the student's strengths? So if you know me, I'm all about strengths-based IEPs and strengths-based behavior plans. So I'm like this kindred spirit with Kiki, and she's a wonderful presenter. I'm sorry we can't be face-to-face with you because she is, always has engaging activities. And so through our computer, we're going to try to simulate that, but she's a wonderful storyteller. She just has so much to share with us. So let's jump in. And Kiki, I don't know if there's anything else that you would like to tell our viewers about yourself.
I was just going to briefly say that my passion is supporting families as well. And I've worked with children from birth all the way up through adults. And I think I've hit just about every kind of educational setting. I did 9 years at Head Start. I worked in early intervention. I worked with adult services in Arizona with those with highly challenging behavior coming out of Arizona State Hospital into community living. So I've hit all types of disabilities and all age groups and all ways of supporting. And I continue to be passionate about having parents equipped to support their children the very best that they can. I'm also the mom of 3 children. They're grown children now, and I have a 3-year-old granddaughter, but we were not the family you would have chosen to sit next to at a restaurant. All my kids were pretty significant ADHD, very bright kids, but we were a very lively family, and now I have a very lively granddaughter.
Yes, but she's also darling.
Oh, yes, she is.
So Marla is on with us, and Erica here in Idaho is watching, and Debbie from Tennessee is with us. And Marla, I think you're from Pennsylvania, but I can't remember for sure. So if you could put that in there. But yeah, so we have a packed time for you today, and Kiki has a PowerPoint, and she'll be sharing that and wonderful stories. And feel free to type in questions and comments, and then I'll try to politely interrupt Kiki and give her your questions so she can be responding to those also. So take it away, Kiki.
So technically, do I go to share screen to do the PowerPoint?
Yes.
I know we practiced yesterday.
I know. So yeah, share screen, and then you should have the option for a PowerPoint.
Yes.
I know. It's all the
See?
magical stuff that has to happen behind the scenes, right?
Here we go.
All right.
Yeah, I have a 26-year-old son who reminds me every day that my technology skills are quite limited, so that's okay. I can live with it.
We see your PowerPoint slide. You did it.
Great. Okay. So as Charmaine said, I do like to do things in a very interactive way. And I developed this training initially with my dear friend Shirley Swope, also from Peak Parent Center. When we went around the state of Colorado and we trained 900 families on using positive behavior support strategies at home through the PBS grant. And in doing so, we created a kind of stick with the plan activity that I'll talk about at the very end. But when I do it live, I encourage people, and I use popsicle sticks, the tongue depressor sticks, and Sharpies, because Sharpies are the only thing that will write on them. And I have 10 strategies. And the reason I picked 10 strategies is because when I present for the Colorado Department of Education, they have a parent weekend retreat 3 times a year. I have 60 minutes. So I was trying to figure out how to get the equivalent of a graduate level course in behavior into 60 minutes. And I thought of David Letterman, and he always did his top 10. So I figured if I could do it in 10 strategies, I could time management myself for about 5 minutes for each of them with an intro and an ending. So I encourage participants for each one of the 10 strategies to write down one small thing that you can do differently, because at the end then you have 10 sticks or 10 tips to take with you to start impacting change immediately, which is why it's called What Parents Can Do on Monday Morning. So the foundation of positive behavior support is really looking at preventing challenging behavior in the first place. Challenging behavior interferes with learning, it interferes with relationships, it interferes with families of getting out the door in the morning and being able to go to the grocery store or to dinner at a restaurant. And it is much easier to prevent challenging behavior than it is to deal with it and bring a child who's escalated down. But then we also have to identify and teach what behavior we want to see the child demonstrating, because if we just stop challenging behavior, then it's like that gopher game where you knock down one gopher and another one pops up because we haven't met the underlying needs. And then the key is when I tell families and staff, we are really not creating behavior plans for children. We're creating them for ourselves, because we can't change another person's behavior. We can only change our own behavior. So we need to look at how we are setting the child up for success and reinforcing the behaviors that we want to see. So that kind of puts it right back on us. So my quick story to start with is a little girl named Faith. And when I worked at CDE, Colorado Department of Education, I went back to the district where I had worked as a teacher and an administrator for 19 years. And the preschool teacher heard I was in the building. She was so excited. She said, "I know you're not here to work with me, but if you could just come and look at this one new child I have." You know, because Kiki coming in the room, it immediately solves the problem. So I went in and I said, "What's the problem?" And she said, "She screams." I said, "Yes." And she goes, "No, that's it. She screams." So here's this cute little 3-year-old with kind of the old Dora the Explorer haircut, coming in a soft pink jogging suit with her mom. And her mom, you can tell, looks very embarrassed because she knows within seconds this little girl's going to start screaming. So the other kids kind of filter in. If I look at her, she starts to scream, so I don't look at her. And all the kids come in and go over to the rug for the opening circle. And Faith goes over to the housekeeping area. And I look at the teacher and she says, "Well, Faith doesn't come to the circle." I said, "Okay." So over in the housekeeping area, for those of you in early childhood who have had young children, she actually sets the table with a plate, a cup, a fork, and a spoon in all the right places. A red, a yellow, a blue, and a green place setting. And I'm thinking, whoa, she can match colors, has one-to-one correspondence, and she knows how to set the table. I look at the teacher and she says, "Oh, she likes the housekeeping area." Then she puts the dishes away, another strength, goes over to this big bin of markers, picks up 5 pink markers and 5 purple markers. I look at Pat, she says, "Oh, she likes pink and purple, and she likes to draw." She proceeds to make horizontal, vertical lines, circular strokes, cleans up her markers, and as she walks by Big Bird and Cookie Monster, says, "Big Bird and Cookie Monster." And I look at the teacher who says, "Oh, she likes Sesame Street." We're outside at recess. I would have pushed her on a swing, but if I looked at her, she did indeed scream. So I worked with some of the other kids, and I asked Pat what they were doing when they went back into the classroom. And she said, we are making red and green alternating color Christmas chains. I said, would you do me a favor? And she said, anything you ask. I said, would you have one of the paras go and put pink and purple strips in the middle of one of the tables? So we walk in. Faith is ready to go to the housekeeping area. The kids are going to the table. Faith sees the pink and purple, sits down, and is the first child in the class to do a pink and purple alternating chain. Chain, period.
Wow.
And the teacher said she never came to the table before. And I said, you never really had anything there that she wanted to do. So I said, on your way home today, maybe you could stop at the carpet square store and get a pink carpet square and a purple carpet square. Maybe you could go to Target and get a pink basket with a little handle and a purple basket with a little handle, and have Mom bring her in early and let her put 5 small items in each of the basket and pick the carpet that she wants to put on the rug. She may not go on the rug tomorrow, but you've increased the likelihood she's going to join the circle because she now has preferred items over there. So my big thing is, let's find out a few things about your child. And I use a Meet My Child form. What are things that the child finds interesting, that they like, that are rewarding? And I always ask parents to take these home and share them with the children, put them on the refrigerator. And I do the same for teachers. I just want to know, what are their favorites? You know, from preschool all the way up through high school. TVs, movies, books, sports, music, video, characters that they're interested in. An adult that the child has a good relationship with. I have a really nice likes and dislikes form that I got from the University of Washington. It can be used for younger kids or kids with more significant needs, and it goes through all the sensory things for likes and dislikes, tags in their clothing, socks inside out. Those are kind of things that we can use to decrease challenging behavior instead of getting into the war of wills over the inside seam on the sock. So before I do any plan, I have to get a really good idea of who the child is. And the reason is, one size does not fit all, and every child is unique. And I have a starting point if I know what it is that really makes that child tick. I can do a behavior plan on any character. I've done Mario plans, Thomas the Tank Engines. Up in Wyoming, I went up and did a plan on the Minions. And I have to tell you, I didn't know what a Minion was. But I do have to draw the line. I don't like SpongeBob, so I can't really do a SpongeBob plan.
So Kiki, the handout that you just referred to, so if you, when we're done with the show, if you can give me a link to that, I'll post it for everybody, because it sounds
That's
like
great.
A great resource.
I can do the Meet My Child, and I can do the sensory likes and dislikes. It's a great tool.
Oh, I bet.
Okay. So the same thing in the classroom. As I said, I want to know from teachers, if they have a few minutes of extra time, what are they drawn to? And especially relationships. I'm very big on relationships. And if I know who the child has the best relationship with in a preschool or an elementary classroom, I may set up a 5-minute talk time with that one adult that they are really keyed into for when they demonstrate the behavior the classroom teacher wants to see. And I had a first grader who, I had a great school psychologist, and she said, I'm stumped. I don't know what to do with this kid. So I went in, and he talked out. He talked out constantly. My family are talkers, so I understood, but it was frustrating for the teacher. And he liked Mario. That was my Mario plan. And I went with him into gym class, and the teacher was doing an analogy with the rotation of a basketball and how the earth goes around the sun, which I found very interesting. And so did he. So he raised his hand and started to talk about the 24-hour period in the sun and the moon. And the PE teacher just shut him down and said, we're not talking about that anymore. So what we did is a little Mario plan. For every 5-10 minutes that he didn't call out in class, he got a little stamp on there. And when he got 5 stamps, we had 3 people in the building who would spend 5 minutes talking to him on a preferred topic that he was interested in. And within a week, he stopped calling out in class because he had a voice and he had someone who was interested in listening to him. And maybe it's a backdoor way to go about, but for this child it worked, and it was so easy to implement.
How cool.
So my thing is to carve out time to spend with your child on the things that matter most. If they don't like cleaning their room, then let's get your clothes put away and your room cleaned up, and then we can play Candyland, or then we can watch a video together, or then we can go out and collect fall leaves. So the social relationship with the adult actually becomes the reinforcement, which to me is much, much better than having to do something tangible, and you're still getting the chore done. So I'm real big on using a first then board. My son-in-law, God bless him, told me that he found a new strategy for my granddaughter, and she's a pistol. And he goes, watch this, watch this. And he goes, Kate, 2.5 years old, Kate, I've got a deal for you. If you put your jammies on, then here's the deal. You can watch a TV show. 2.5, she puts her finger on her chin and says, let me think about that for just a minute. I got a better deal. Turn the TV on and I'll get dressed. He goes, that didn't work so well. I said, yeah, we don't negotiate with 2.5-year-olds who say, let's get your jammies on, then we can watch a show. That's it. If she doesn't get her jammies on, you don't turn the show on. But yes, she goes, let me think about this. Funny, very funny. The next one, so think of one thing that you can do to really utilize your children's strength to try to shape that behavior that you want to see. The next one is to think about classroom or family rules. Because the handout that Charmaine will post, I did the 10 tips originally for families, but then I did a parallel document for teachers, and you'll get both. And I figure parents can give the teacher one to a teacher, and teacher can give the parent one to a parent, and then you're looking at the same 10 tips, but they're customized for the different environments, school environment and home environment. So do you have household rules or expectations? As a single parent with 3 kids, I got to tell you, I didn't really have them, and I did an awful lot of no, don't, stop, and nagging to get things done. If your child is in a school that's actually doing positive behavior support, they're going to have school-wide rules, whether they be PAWS or Pride or the Hawks. And kids have heard things about respect, responsibility, safety. Use those same expectations at home so that they're aligned with clear expectations at home and at the school. And reinforce these throughout the day. Thanks for putting your bike helmet on. That's one way to be safe. At my house, my hot water is very hot. So my granddaughter told her mom, Grandma and I put a sock over the hot water. That's a reminder to me not to use the hot water at Grandma's house and to only use the cold water, and Grandma puts the hot on. So she goes, that's much safer for me. So those are the vocabulary that you want to continue to use because that's what kids are learning at school as well. And then remember, if you have multiple kiddos or kids with developmental delays, you want to make sure that it's not only fair, but age and developmentally appropriate. So when I worked at CDE, I had a great opportunity. I got to take a family, the head of PTA and the principal, to Washington to present to OSEP, the Office of Special Education Programs, on using positive behavior support at home. They had a great Hawks program at the school, fabulous community engagement, lots of things going on, but I worked with the PTA and with the parent group, and they actually came up with a matrix that I'll show you on how to do Hawks at home. So H was honor everybody, and they asked families to talk about what does honor everybody look like? What's it look like when you're having a disagreement? What about when you're visiting relatives? How do we recognize our kids that are honoring everyone? And how do we support our kids who are having challenges with honoring everyone when visiting friends? This has been defined at the school, so the kids are hearing these same words. What does academic achievement, the A in Hawks, look like at the library, when we're doing homework, and when we work together as a family? W is work together. What's it look like if we're playing a game, if we're doing our homework, or if we're going to clean our room or sit down and watch a movie? How are we all working together? When I made cookies with my granddaughter last week, her parents went to Ireland and I had her for a week. She said, oh, Grandma, this is just so much fun. I'm going to tell my mom. I do know how to bake because I let her help stir the cookies. Separated from the stove by my body because she's kind of feisty, but engaging her in that, and we were working together. My turn, her turn, my turn, her turn. The K in Hawks was kindness. What does kindness to others look like when kids are helping out at home? How do we teach kindness to others at the park or at a sports practice? And how do we positively acknowledge children who are showing kindness with their brothers and sisters? Thank you so much for reading to your little sister when I was on the telephone. That was very kind. Or for helping her when she couldn't get the milk herself. And the last one was safety, and every parent wants their child to be safe. What does safety look like when shopping or making dinner? What about walking home from school? Text me as soon as you get home. Make sure you're crossing the street safely. Walk with a friend. I don't want you walking alone. What does safety look like when we go outside to ride our bike? Helmet goes on, and my granddaughter, who fell for the first time on her two-wheeler, she's pretty good. She said to her dad, "Dad, that is not a good way to keep me safe." And he said, "Miss Kate, you need to go a little bit slower because Dad couldn't keep up with you. You were going so fast." So now she says, when I ride my bike, I need to go a little slower because that's the safe way. It's like, yes, dear, it is. So this is what Shirley and I came up with as a home matrix, and we just made this up. We looked at home, HOME. H is help out, O is own your behavior, and M are manners count every day. And then you can sit with your family and actually create one and say, what does help look like at homework time? How do you own your behavior, which is being responsible? In the morning time, you're ready to leave. You're asking to borrow before you borrow something. You use I statements. You apologize if you make a mistake. Manners count, respect. I was real big on thank your mom for a ride when I dropped you off. Ask politely for help. Respect others, offer to share. So if you can do this and sit down with a family, it gives you the opportunity to really look at what are your expectations at home, and as a family, how are we all going to do this together? Post it on the refrigerator. For littler kids or kids with developmental delays, you can easily put picture symbols as well, and it may align to what your school is already doing. So think of one thing you can do for setting up some clear expectations at home. The third one goes right along with the expectations, and it's what do your routines look like at home? Again, as a special ed teacher and a behavior specialist, I would not have wanted to share my morning routine because it was a little chaotic getting 3 kids out the door, 3 different schools. Where's the backpack? What homework slip? What do you mean you have to have a packed lunch today? Why didn't you tell me last night? So how can we organize our day so that children actually know what's happening? You may have kiddos like mine who didn't do now really well. We need to leave now. I don't think so. How about a 5-minute warning? I would tell my son, hurry up, it's time to leave. You need to turn that video game off. And he'd say, I can't turn it off. I'm not at a save point. And I said, what is a save point? And he said, well, a save point, if I don't have a save point, I'm going to lose all my work. And I said, this is not work. This is a video game. But instead, I learned to use the save point. When you get to your next save point, that it's time to get your clothes into the hamper, or it's time to get your backpack out. So I would say, oh, I forgot to tell you, you have a dentist appointment after school. I'll pick you up. And he would say sarcastically, Miss PBS coordinator, I would appreciate it if you would notify me in advance when there's a change in my schedule.
Don't you love it? Don't you love it?
Yeah. Let me know the night before if there's a doctor's appointment, which, is really a pretty realistic expectation for a middle school kid. So how can you, within your family, make sure kids know that there's a doctor visit, a visitor's coming over? We have errands to run before we get home. You're going to miss the 3:30 show. How can you create a schedule that includes chores, homework, self-help, showers and teeth, and fun choice activities? And again, you can use it through pictures. Charmaine, did I send you the little brochure that I made for Prevent, Teach, and Reinforce?
Yeah.
I can send you a really nice brochure that I created. It's a passport to smooth behavior sailing into the future or something. But on the back, I have my favorite websites. And the websites on there have all the downloadable visual schedules and picture symbols that you need just by going on and getting them. And a couple of them are early childhood websites, but picture symbols are picture symbols, and anybody can use them. You know, just like teachers do at school to use transition warnings to let your child know what's coming next, be it a timer, a 5-minute, a gong, or visuals to help them with those transitions. School has a slew of routines, and you know routines are in place in a school when a substitute comes in and the substitute knows exactly what to do. And you know they're in place when the children say, that is not how Mrs. Smith collects homework, or that's not how we line up for lunch. You know that there are predictable routines in that classroom. Well, there's the potential for many, many, many routines at home, both in the house and going out with families, babysitter coming, going out to dinner, etc., that we can really look at. So I like to break those routines down with families, and if they say mealtime is just a mess, well, what does mealtime look like? Let's go step by step by step. Maybe we need a little picture schedule just for that hot time of the day. And I always say to identify one routine. You could, but it's not going to be successful. You know, you can't really focus on mealtime, bedtime, and bath time all at once. Let's pick the hottest spot of your day, work on that, get that routine in place, and then look at the other one. So Ann Todd from the University of Oregon and I actually came up with a routine analysis for families, and it's very much like what the schools would do if they were doing a functional behavioral assessment and looking at environments in which the behavior is most likely to occur or least likely to occur. So this is just looking at what is your hottest spot of the day and identifying one of them to focus on at any given point in time. Once you get that one in place, then go back and let's look about getting ready for school. I'm real big on simple things. I mean, if you can put little simple things in place, like getting ready for school is so much better if your clothes are laid out the night before and if your backpack is by the front door. That's two things you don't have to do in the morning. Of course, I still look every morning for my keys because I don't put them in a consistent place. But if you put your keys in the same place every day, the likelihood is they're going to be there in the morning. My son in middle school used to say, where is my belt? And my response was, I would imagine it's in the last pair of pants that you wore because I'm not really in charge of your belt. But if you put your belt on top of your backpack tonight, you can stick it in your pants as we go out the front door. Of course, I wanted to say there's 3 hooks on the back of your bedroom door, and there's at least 9 belts there on the belt hooks. You know, maybe if you put your belt there, but I mean, if you could get it on top of the backpack, at least in the morning, that's one thing you're not going around looking for, because I'm not the belt police, and I'm not going to be looking for your belt. So think of one routine that you could kind of map out for your kiddos that might be a little bit of a stressful, just to help make things a little bit smoother in your household. This is one of my favorite, and again, even though these are kind of Kiki's 10 tips, they're all really research-based. Anticipate challenges and plan accordingly. I am teaching a class tonight. It's going to snow in Denver. It's going to snow this afternoon, and I'm very far south. So I already have anticipated that I have a friend who lives close to where I'm training, and if there's too much snow, he knows I might just knock on his door because I hate to drive in the snow. But if I do have to drive in the snow, I plan accordingly. Make sure I always have a blanket, warm clothes, I'm comfortable. I've got water in the car with me. I've got calm, relaxing music. My cell phone is fully charged just in case you get stuck someplace. Because again, preventing challenging behavior is always easier than having to deal with it. You as a parent know what are the things or the triggers that set your child off and cause challenging behavior. Whether they're not feeling well, whether they're tired, whether there's too many people, whether they've been sitting still for a long time. All those things that you know are valuable things for the classroom teacher to know, because even though the environment is different, those are triggers that you know are likely to set your child up. If they did not sleep well at school at night, they're probably going to have a harder time at school the next day. And the school knows if there's a substitute there, they're likely to have a harder time when they come in. So giving you that information allows you to help plan accordingly and prepare your child for that. Remove temptations and things that are likely to create problems. Again, my granddaughter, she was a tiny little thing. She was premature. So when she started pulling herself up on stuff when she was 10 and 11 months old, I told my daughter, when they come in their house, lovely little house, but it's small, first thing you see, is the large TV for the Bronco games. But on the TV stand as you walk in is a clear-cut, beautiful glass bowl. And in go the coins, cling, 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 and the keys, and everything shiny and sparkly that makes noise. And I said, I really worry that one of these days she's going to pull herself up and knock the bowl over. They said, no. We're worried she's going to knock the TV over, so we're securing it to the wall. So when I came in a couple weeks later, and there was a blue plastic bowl with all the keys and the change, I refrained from saying what happened to the glass bowl, but my daughter said, don't even say it. Don't even say it. The first thing she knocked over was the glass bowl. Of course, because it's shiny, you can see through it, and it made lots of noise when you clinged and clanged. Remove temptations. She's kind of a chocolate nut. Her father is a chocolate nut. Don't put the chocolate on the kitchen counter if she can't have any. Just put it inside the drawer. So just think thoughtfully about choosing your battles wisely and removing temptations that are likely to create a problem. Think about activities, the times of day, and the places where your child is likely to experience success. If you have a child with autism, you probably don't go to Costco or Sam's Club or one of those giant supermarkets at 10 o'clock on Saturday morning, because I have a hard time going there at 10 o'clock on Saturday morning. There's too many people, there's too many lights, there's too much noise, there's too much going on. So going at 4 o'clock on a Monday afternoon is probably a much better time if you need to take your child with you. For kids with more significant needs, I worked with a family who had a little girl who was non-ambulatory. And once they got her settled, she really got agitated and upset when they would have to move her from one position to another. And part of it was she really didn't understand the language, and she couldn't understand, why are you taking me out of this soft, warm beanbag with a blanket, and what are you doing with me next? So we came up with a plan that they would still use the verbal directions, bath time, but then they would sing a little song, and they would use a different scent. So for bath time, maybe it was strawberry. And for getting ready for bed, maybe it was lavender. And they had 2 or 3 different routines where they paired a scent with the song. And that seemed to help her be able to anticipate, once they would spray like a scent on her arm and they would start to sing a song, that was an indicator that something was going to change. And over time, she could anticipate bath time, getting in the car, or time to go to bed.
I love that idea. And you think about all the parents that are using different oils with their kids now. So I'm thinking like that would probably be a great thing to pair with, something that's coming up for them to know that,
Because it establishes meaning over time, and the olfactory actually allows different messages to get into the brain. So pairing it with music is a real good combination.
And I love that idea, because I think that's something I've never thought of, to tap into that sense and to pair it with music. So that is like an awesome idea.
Thank you. So, again, it's the same thing if you're doing a behavior plan in the school. Under what circumstances is the behavior most likely to happen or least likely to happen? And when I'm called in to look at behavior, I don't only want to see the child when they're having a hard time. I want to see them when they're doing well. and what is it that is keeping them engaged in that activity and with those adults. So those are just things that we need to kind of think about. What kind of sets our kids off, and how can we proactively address any of those? So that's number 4, so you can think about one of those. This is a great one for parents. And when I have trainings where moms and dads or partners come together, I always say, how many of you have the same expectations for certain things? And, you know, do mom and dad kind of do it the same way, and they look at each other and then they kind of look away? So this is really about know how you're going to react and be consistent. If it's a really kind of a serious situation and you mean business, then a nice sing-song voice doesn't have the same meaning as it really is time to go now. I'm not yelling, I'm being firm, and I'm using a calm voice, but I know that I mean business. When I was a teacher, I had a group of second graders, and we had gone full inclusion, and I was thrilled because now I got to work with kids with learning disabilities and speech impairments, and not just kids with serious emotional disturbance. And I had a group of second graders, and they were just squirrely, and maybe I was not in a good mood. And I stopped and I said, "Excuse me, please." And they all stopped. And one little boy said to this new little girl, "That's what she says when she wants us to know that she's serious. It's her pretend mean voice." That's great. They knew. They all had to do was say, "Excuse me, please." And for my granddaughter, I say, "I don't think so." That's it. "I don't think so." "Not okay." She goes, "I know, Grandma." But it's a different voice, and it's a little bit firmer, but it is not in any way, shape, or form yelling. I also choose my battles wisely, and I know in advance. I think of the grocery store. And for years, I had my own grocery store traumas with the kids, and my middle son is a dancer. He's currently living in San Francisco, and he's a modern dancer. He's been dancing since he was 2. And when he was 9, his goal in life was to work at Safeway so that he could collect the carts and ride the carts through the parking lot. So it is true that I would take him to the grocery store at night, like after 7 when there weren't many people, and I'd look up and down the aisles to make sure. I'd say, "Go for it, Patrick," and I would let him push the cart and do dance moves on top of the shopping cart. But not on Saturday when it was really busy. So you just have to choose your battles wisely. Say what you mean and mean what you say, and be sure to follow through. And there are times that as professionals and as parents, we're not in the best of moods, and we say things like, "You are never going outside again. That's it for your bike. I'm getting rid of it. You know, I'm giving away your PlayStation." You know what? We don't really mean it. And then sometimes we have to go back and say, "You know what? I was really upset, and I said this, and I probably shouldn't have said it." And we have to be accountable for our own behavior. But pretty much say what you say and mean what you mean. My friend Shirley told me once that her daughter came. She had 3 kids, and said, "Can I go over to my friend's house on Saturday night?" And Shirley said, "We'll see." And Kristen goes, "Great, fine, I can't go now." And Shirley said, "I didn't say no." She goes, "Mom, you have 4 answers. Yes, no, maybe, and we'll see. Maybe means yes, and we'll see means no. If you said we'll see, it means I can't go." Shirley said, "She was right. She was right. I really only had 2 answers." Provide as many choices as possible throughout the routines of the day that will decrease challenging behavior and more actively engage kids, and just avoid arguing, threatening, and negotiating, because you don't need to negotiate with a 2-year-old, a 6-year-old, or an 8-year-old. Now, I will say, once my son hit middle school, and he was quite the negotiator, quite the challenger of what I had to say, I did come up with a win-win situation with him, and I use it when I work with high schools, and I have a template that says, "I know I drive you crazy when." I drive him crazy when I drive him home from work and I talk incessantly. He likes to be in the car in silence. We have very different styles. So I would say to him, I know I drive you crazy when I talk nonstop. I would be glad to be quiet and listen to music if you would respectfully ask me to. So it was kind of a negotiated win-win, but not very appropriate for his age group. So think about, are you on the same page, mom and dad? What about grandma's house? What about kiddos that go back and forth from mom's house to dad's house? They could have very different expectations in the houses, and that's not saying one is right and one is wrong, but to be able to say, at dad's house this happens, at mom's house this happens. And that's where the home matrix comes in, because you can easily put them up on the fridge. These are dad's rules, these are mom's rules. This is the way it goes. What about a babysitter for the night out? Do you have a little bedtime routine or a special series of things that you do to help facilitate that so there is some consistency? And then I'm going to go back. If you already have expectations in the school, get those expectations into the home, because that's consistency across home and school environments. We want to model the behavior that we want our children to learn. Our children, regardless of level of difficulty or special needs, they're watching us. We are the number one model for our kids. So they're going to copy our words and our actions. And we all know that kids have inadvertently said a word that we said that we did not want repeated in public. So we need to focus, again, behavior planning is for us, on controlling our own emotions and our own regulation before we can really support our kiddos. So we want to strive to manage our children's behavior with an attitude that comes from knowing self-control is important and it's necessary and it's good for the kids, and we're showing you this. We may, as the parent, need to be the one to take a deep breath, count to 10, and take a brief time away. And it's okay to say, Mom or Dad is too upset right now to talk about that. I need 5 minutes and then let's get back together. Or why don't you go and watch a show and then we'll talk about this situation with your friend. It's very funny because my daughter has done 2 absolutely fabulous things with my granddaughter, and I couldn't be any happier with them. And one of them is that she has really used breathing strategies. And you can get beautiful pictures on breathing strategies from many of the websites that I have in the brochure. You know, you're either blowing out the candle, or you're smelling the flower and blowing out the candle, or blowing up a balloon. But she has taught her to take a deep breath and to just breathe out. And when she starts to get agitated, because she's feisty, all my daughter has to say is, and my daughter models a deep breath, and Kate goes, just a second, let me just take a deep breath. And she's been doing it since she was 2 years old. She's 3.5. And now when we're out in public together, she'll see a toddler tantruming and she goes, she really needs her mom to teach her to take deep breaths. And I thought, she has really incorporated that into her understanding. The other thing that she has really done with her is she's taught her that sometimes things are hard, and you all have kids that it's hard to do things. And instead of melting down and throwing the shoe across the room, my daughter says, let's repeat. This is hard, but I can do hard things. So she has actually made little visual pictures that I can do hard things, and has them in several different places in the house. So when my granddaughter encounters something that is hard for her, she'll take her deep breath and then she'll say, I know I can do it because I can do hard things. And actually the perseverance of trying to learn something is far more important down the road than having accomplished the task itself. The belief that it's hard, but if I break it down, maybe I need to ask for help, but I can do this one.
And
So you want to...
Kiki, I was just going to share that Debbie, who's on with us, she was saying, thank you for addressing negotiating for those middle schoolers and older.
Oh, good. They have a voice. Their voice needs to be valued.
Exactly, exactly.
You want to set up success with positive language of the behavior you want to see. I'm real big on avoiding no, don't, and stop. And the interesting thing is, from a speech perspective, the word don't run, don't spit, don't hit, don't bite, is not really even understood by children, normally developing children, until the age of 4. That it's an abstract concept, don't. So when you say don't run, they hear run. When you say don't hit, they hear hit. It's not even defiance at that point. They don't really understand the concept of don't, do not. So I'm real big on framing positively what you want to do. So communicate clearly what behavior you want the child to demonstrate. If you want another snack, you need to say please. If you want more time, ask for more time. If you need a break, ask for a break. And sometimes the most appropriate response is simply redirecting the child's behavior, because you can see a tantrum coming on, and sometimes it's one that is going to take a while, company over, etc. You can just say, wait, did I tell you that the kitty cat got a new toy? And you've redirected it in. You can deal with it later at a different time when the child is calm, and you've just kind of reframed the situation in such a way. And classroom teachers do it all the time. I know that that's really hard. Could you help me for just 5 minutes, and then we'll go on? Or I know you really want that toy. I need somebody who will help me do this, and you just flip them in to a preferred activity with you, and then later you can talk about how to share the toy, etc. By setting boundaries for kids, we're not being mean. We're actually being really good in terms of what they need. It reinforces our expectation, but it also sends a clear message that we believe they are capable of what we're asking them to do. If we say clean your room, first of all, what does a clean room look like? For my son, it was pretty much, Mother, my room is clean. I created a path to my bed. My perception of a clean room is very different than a path to your bed. But if I say, here's 4 things that a clean room looks like, I know you can do it, I'd be glad to help you out. Which one do you want to do? And I'll help put the toys. You get through together, you accomplish the job working together, and then you can say, I knew you could do this. I knew all along you could do it. It was okay to ask for a little help. Look at what a nice job you did. I spent my last 5 years working with Head Start and Early Head Start, and most of the families we worked with had pretty serious challenges in their life: homelessness, domestic violence, drug and alcohol abuse, a lot of trauma. And one of the things that children really, really at the early childhood level need to master is the ability to let you know how they're feeling. It is so much more appropriate to say, I am frustrated, I am mad, I am sad, than it is to hit somebody with a book or to run out of the room or to bite someone, etc., all the negative behavior. But it's really funny because as adults, most of us don't go around with our children and say things like, whoa, I'm really frustrated today that traffic was so bad and we're getting home late, or I'm really sad that I can't do blank, blank, blank. But the more that we can actually incorporate using empathetic statements and feelings words with our kids, we can help them develop those social emotional skills that they need that are critical to success in life. When we see challenging behavior, it often means that our kiddos just cannot figure out how to express their feelings in an acceptable way and truly don't know how to get their needs met. And when I have behavior plans with parents, I say, I don't think that your child is staying up at night thinking of ways to come into school and kind of disrupt the whole classroom. He's actually doing the very best that he can right now, but we need to help him come up with some strategies because his very best isn't really safe right now. So talk about feelings, use visuals to help you understand. The different links, multiple websites have really nice feelings charts that you can put on the fridge. You can just cut out 3 or 4 to start with. Wonderful books. Some of my favorite books, and I continue to buy children's books just because I use them in trainings, are talking about expressing feelings. How are you feeling? And you can get them up into older kids as well. So I would really ask that we think about how we're conveying problem solving by expressing our own feelings and emotions and helping kids to get up there. Lots of opportunities for problem solving. I guess the one key I would want to make is that when you have a child who is escalated, upset, kind of out of control, language is just going in one ear and out the other. Like Charlie Brown, it's like rant, 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 rant. The less we say, the better. And we should save our conversations and let's talk about this for when the child is calm. And we should introduce the breathing strategies and the calm down strategies when the child is calm and practice them so that those are incorporated into him or her so that when there is a situation, they can access those skills. You cannot teach problem solving and self-regulation strategies when a child is upset. I think the most important is to really stop and look behind the behavior to what your child is telling you. We're the adults. It's kind of our job to try to understand what lies beneath the behavior and is it a need that they're trying to get met. Often we get so frustrated that we end up personalizing our children's behavior and again seeing it as something that they're doing just to get at us. Well, you really didn't want to eat the vegetables that I gave you and you threw this good fit here, etc. And again, just to remember that the child is using whatever skills they have and they probably need to have a little support in that area. You have to remember the age and the developmental level of the child. You know, a toddler is a toddler and a preschooler is a preschooler, and they're really working on trying to get their behavioral needs met. You know, but as kids get older and they have challenging behaviors, you know, they're really using all of their energy just to hang on, and little things set them off, and then we go spiraling into some pretty serious behavior situations. Research really pretty much indicates, except for some unusual neurological conditions and things, that children and adults' behavior is a demonstration of either trying to get something or trying to get away from something. I want that cookie. I want that extra time. I want to go to the store. I want to watch a movie. Or escaping. I don't want to be in Costco with all of those people. I don't want everybody talking to me right now. So it can be sensory stimulation. They either need it or it's way too much. Get me out of here and cover me up with the blanket. I'm on overload. They either want some social interaction or they don't. Unfortunately, a lot of the kids that I had who had recess taken away, which I have a problem with anyway, had recess taken away would say to me, why do I really need recess? I don't have any friends. Nobody plays with me. At least if you keep me inside, I can talk to the library lady. And they would actually set themselves up to avoid social interaction outside because they had no friends. And the reward, the payoff was they had a library lady who would let them help, and they felt much more valued in the library than they did out at recess time. And that goes for adults as well as for kids. So what are they trying to get or what are they trying to avoid? And then are their needs being met? So we're looking at social reactions, changes in activities or routines, increased assistance from peer and adults, access to materials and activities, more stimulation, less stimulation, change in the physical environment, need to move. I need some space. My son was a tapper, my dancer. He was always moving. And he would tap, 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 tap. And it wasn't even a matter that he was doing it on purpose. It was just like a habit for him. Once he knew that it was bugging his older sister, he took it to a new level. He would do it just to irritate her because he got such a fabulous reaction out of his 13-year-old sister when he tapped on the pew in church. Mother, make him stop. So behavior can mean many things. I want you to pay attention. I want that toy. I want to play with you. I don't want to stop what I'm doing. I can't do that. I don't know how to do it. I don't understand what you want. I don't have any friends. How else can I get attention? My favorite book is by Joy Berry, Berry. It's $4.95 from Amazon. It's a green book, and what it has is, it's called Needing Attention, and it follows the whole behavior planning format of a little kid, probably preschool, but it can be used for kids from preschool all the way up to second or third grade, or for kids with developmental delays. The pictures are pretty neutral. And what it does is he thinks of all the ways that he can get his mom's attention that are negative. But actually, he just wants some time with her. And it goes through that whole process where he goes to his mom and they have a talk about how to get attention, and they came up with some positive strategies to get attention. When I did a search about 5 or 6 years ago, it is the only book that I could find that actually addresses how can I get attention. And it's called Needing Attention. She also has a book on feeling sad, being angry. She has a whole series. They're green and they're small books. They're great books. Before I do any kind of plan, I think of these 4 variables. Does the child actually know how to do this behavior in the first place? Can they clean their room? Can they get dressed themselves? Can they do the homework that the teacher sent home? Because if they can't, you're going to see behavior out of it. Is the behavior meeting a need or getting a payoff? And that is my grocery store meltdown in aisle 8, where the child says, Mom, 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 I want Captain Crunch. And she says, no, no, no. And then she says, and the chills go through me, fine, just put it in the cart. They know if they fuss long enough, Mom will give in to avoid a scene in the store and say, just put it in the cart. If you're going to say yes the first time. Don't say no, 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 because you're just teaching them, whine and fuss, the no's will get me what I want. As my son Patrick was a tapper, is the child even aware that he's demonstrating the behavior? My kid who was a talker, he wasn't talking to irritate people. He was talking because he needed to talk, but it was a habit. And is there a necessary, practical solution that we can use right now instead of sitting down and doing a behavior plan? One of the main things that families have said to me in doing behavior planning is that they wish that, they'd open the front door and their little guy or girl with autism would bolt down the driveway. It's unsafe. We have to keep kids safe. But this is, you could come up with a complicated plan for getting from the house to the car, or you could give the child a weighted basket with 5 things that they can put in right before you leave to play with or read in the car. So they're so engaged in carrying the basket out to the car, it's really hard to run away when you're carrying a heavy basket. So refocus on getting into the car with stuff that I want to play with is going to decrease the game of running down the driveway and you chasing me.
I love that.
So then we have to replace it. So we need them to learn to wait. We need them to ask to play. We need them to be able to say, I don't like that right now, or can you please help me, or I need a break. We have to then think of what is the behavior we want to see instead of the challenging behavior. And then we focus on what the child we'd like them to do instead. We focus on replacing the behavior, not the gopher game, and we teach it when things are calm. But again, we're changing our behavior because the plan includes ways for us to respond to the behavior. You need to sit in your seat, but you can hold your bear or take your book with you. You need to do your math, you can stand at your desk. There's an alternative way to do it that'll be a win-win for both of us. And my last one, and I think we're pretty close on time, is 5-to-1 positives. For every time that we have got to say a no, don't, or stop for safety, or a please do this, or just a demand or a request of a child, we need to make sure that they are hearing 5 times more often, great job, like the way you did, thanks for helping out. Genuine, positive praise has a powerful effect on your children's behaviors. This includes their efforts to work hard at following your directions and small steps in the right direction. You want to use positive reinforcement as often as possible. Focus on activities that support your child's strengths and reinforce the feelings of self-esteem, accomplishment, and cooperation. And my quick example is when I was working at CDE, I had two sons at home, teenagers, and I would come home after a long drive home, and I would probably be somewhat irritated, frustrated, and tired. And I would walk in the door, and the first words out of my mouth were, "Put your shoes away, get your backpacks out of the doorway, pick up the Mountain Dew cans, pick up the fruit roll-ups," and my son would say to me, "Whoa, did Miss Positive Behavior Support Coordinator have a hard day at work?" I wasn't the most pleasant person coming in the house. So I sat with them, came up with 3 expectations I had when I came home. Guys, I'm working, I'm doing my best. You got to cut me a break here. I want the backpacks put away. I want the shoes put away. And I want the fruit roll-up and Mountain Dew cans, please put in the trash. I would call 10 minutes before I got home, and I would say, "Guys, I'm at 64th and Sheridan. I'll be home in 10 minutes. And Donovan would say to me, "Could you give me the 5-minute warning from 72nd? Okay, I can give a 5-minute warning. Then when I came in the house, I had to make sure that I said, "Hey guys, it's looking good. Thanks a lot. Thanks for putting things away. I really appreciate it." Then I got smart and thought, well, if I had the coffee ready, when I called them, they could turn the coffee on so I could have coffee and watch Channel 9 News. And I knew it was working one day when Donovan called me at CDE and said, "What time are you going to be home today, Mom?" And I said, "Why?" somewhat suspiciously. And he said, "Because I want to make sure that I have your coffee ready for you."
Aww.
So that was a nice payoff for me. And again, do something special with your child as the reward. It strengthens your relationship with them. And if a child does need a more structured reinforcement system, remember the simpler it is, the easier it is to implement, and the more likely you're going to be consistent, but always pair it with a social thing with you. This was the stick with the plan that Shirley and I did. I would ask you to go, if you do a home matrix, think of 10 things every day that you positively want to acknowledge your kids for. Thanks for hanging up the towel. You got your homework done. Thanks for walking the dog. Thanks for changing the dog's water. Hey, your clothes made it to the hamper. You turned the TV set down when I ask. Those are your little 10 sticks or your reminder. And every day before you go to bed, you look at them and say, "Did I remember to do this? Maybe I only did 2 today." That's okay. Put them back in the in jar and try them again tomorrow, and maybe you'll get 3 tomorrow. And if you do it every day for 30 days, those 10 small acknowledgments for your kids' positive behavior will become a habit, and then you can add a few more, and you are likely to see an increase in positive behavior. When Shirley and I did this with parents and we did a post survey with them, over 95% said they were being more positive with their children and they were seeing an increase in positive behavior at home just by doing this simple thing for 30 days. So I'm just going to add a few positive comments and then see with Charmaine if there's time for a question. Decades of research says there's 12 traits that allow us to be truly happy, get through rough spots in life. And those are: try to maintain a sense of optimism and hope for the future. Have a sense of humor, because my sense of humor has gotten me very, very far in life. Think about the choices you make. You always have a choice in what you do. If you don't choose, you're actually choosing. Take care of yourself, all the self-care stuff. Proactivity, try something new you've never done before for yourself. Think of your purpose and where you're headed. Have the courage tomorrow to try something new. Surround yourself by people you love and care for and who care for you. Allow yourself to believe that there may be a higher power than ourselves. My favorite is, sometimes you have to step outside the box and look at something from somebody else's perspective. your spouse, your child, the administrator, the teacher, before you step back in and make a choice. Think of security for yourself and your family. Take care of your health, because if you don't take care of your health, you can't take care of your family. And altruism, do something for someone else, because in the long run, it makes you much happier. This is from Empower Colorado's newsletter years ago, and it says, you're someone with great potential. You have the ability to make every day special. Each new morning comes to us gift-wrapped, and fresh out of the box are moments we've never experienced before, opportunities we've never known, and chances we've never taken. What a truly magnificent gift. Those with the same old outlook let the chances just slip away. But those who understand the value of a gift, well, they have a chance to turn the present into a truly extraordinary day. My personal childhood hero, I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, so I know somebody's from Pennsylvania. If you could only sense how important you are to the lives of those you meet, there is something of yourself that you leave at every meeting with another person. More and more, I've come to understand that listening is one of the most important things we can do for one another. It can be our greatest gift. When I was 10 years old, Mr. Rogers came to my next door neighbor's house. My two best friends and Mr. Rogers, their dads, were all ministers at Pittsburgh Theological Seminary in Pittsburgh, and he did a neighborhood concert for us. We all sat on the spiral staircase. He came in his sweater and tennis shoes and played for us. So imagine what our real neighborhoods would be like if each one of us offered, as a matter of course, just one kind word to another person. Think of the ripple effect when we nourish someone. One kind, empathetic word has a wonderful way of turning into many. So thanks so much for letting me do this.
Oh, Kiki, this is like so wonderful. Do you want to stop sharing your PowerPoint and come back on with us full screen?
We'll try. Let's see how this goes.
I know you're doing it. I think people are just like, there you are. It's magic.
Yes.
It all works. I just
Okay, good.
am enamored with all of your bits of wisdom, and it's like, and like you say, when people leave your workshops, it's, we're not like depressed and frustrated, but you, I don't know, you bring out the best, and you understand, you have stories to share, you show that you're vulnerable and that you've been in the same spot that other parents have been in. And I've been typing in comments as you've been talking into our Facebook show here, and just saying, for sure, this is a video that I want to go back and re-listen to. I want to, share it with other people. It's like, think about teachers that are open-minded and that would love to get this information from you. So people are just really, and you can come back to our Facebook page, Kiki, and read the comments. But
Okay, good.
But Anisha says that she really needed to hear this. She, meaning you, Kiki, is saying great things. I need to change. And we have, Lisa was saying that she loved, some of the examples and the ideas that you gave. And we all kind of see some of ourselves and your stories that you've shared. And I want to for sure look at Joy Berry's books, because
great books. Yeah.
Now that I have grandchildren, it's like this is an opportunity for me to have a do-over. And maybe I can use some of these ideas that I've learned that I didn't know about when my kids were younger. So for parents out there that don't have grandkids yet, you always get that chance to try again, right?
You can try again every morning.
Yes, that's true. That's true. You don't have to wait for grandkids. And I think your tips are like right on target. I just love that you come from a space of figuring out what kids are interested in, what their strengths are. It just was like so sad to hear about the little person that it was okay for them not to go to recess because they didn't have friends. And, it's like we need to take a step back and reflect on things. Sometimes we get so busy, but it's like, are some of our kids in our classes, purposely setting it up because they don't want to go outside and feel alone on that playground? And is that why they're doing what they're doing right before the recess time happens? And instead of us getting irritated, it's like, wow, how can we figure out how to connect kids? And I know when I was a teacher, one of the things that I loved to do was have class meetings and have, and not point out, so-and-so needs a friend, but
Right.
just all of us, like, sometimes if I go to a conference and I don't know people, I feel awkward and, what do I do? What do I say? And how about you guys? When you go on the playground, does anybody ever feel like, and get ideas from the other kids? Because what I found is that other students will come up with fantastic practical ideas that as adults sometimes we would have never thought of.
Or to easily do a 20-minute recess, 6 minutes in the middle, you have an organized game.
Cool.
So you get free time, you do an organized game, you get free time, and you're teaching social skills at recess time for the kids that need a little bit more structure to participate.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. So Kiki, I know that you're like pursuing new things. You're going to be writing a book, so for sure we want to know when your book comes out. But and on your last slide, you did have contact info, and I'll put that in the video description. But I don't know. I guess I know that you're going to be at the TASH conference coming up in December in Atlanta. So
I'll be at CEC in February in Tampa.
Okay.
TASH is in Atlanta, Georgia, and then the International Association of Positive Behavior Support is in March in San Diego.
Cool. So we'll just have to be Kiki groupies. And
in the meantime, I'm formally retired, so every day is a blessing.
I know. I think you're taking the same retirement path that I did. It's like other people go on cruises and Kiki and I do workshops and try to figure out how to help kids more.
I'm going to Ireland too, though, so that's good.
That's right. Well, I just want to thank you so much, and everybody on the live call, and I know we'll have lots of people watching the replay, just have appreciated what you have been sharing. And it's very, I don't know, I'm just like percolating with ideas and enthusiastic about the rest of my day. And when I see my grandkids, and it's just like, this is just wonderful. So thank you.
And I'll send you the couple different forms.
Yes, because those would be great. And I'll post the link for the handout that you did send me. And then that one from Washington about figuring out likes and dislikes and that kind of stuff. That would be great too.
Wonderful. So. All right. Thank you again. Thank you for all the technical support help.
You're welcome. And so I wanted to quickly mention to people who are still with us live that tomorrow at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, I'm doing this wonderful masterclass, and it's entitled How to Think Like an Advocate and Get Positive Results. So I'm hoping that people will join us tomorrow right here in this Facebook page, 1 p.m. Mountain Time. And until we see everybody again, thank you all for being here. And Kiki, take care. Thanks. And we'll stay in touch.
Okay. Thanks. Bye-bye.